Last week, the U.S. Census Bureau began inviting households to complete the 2020 census form. That can happen online, by phone, or still by mail if you need to. Reaching New Mexico's 19 Pueblos, Navajo, and Apache tribes is critical for funding healthcare, housing, education, and more. Finding American Indians living in urban areas and those experiencing homelessness is vital too. And that effort is hindered by a deep lack of trust in the federal government, but tribal leaders and advocates have been hard at work for months. This week, correspondent Antonia Gonzalez sits down with members of New Mexico's Native American Census Coalition.
Joining me now are Charlotte Little and Jamie Glochet. Welcome to New Mexico in Focus.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Right now, the Native Census Coalition is doing a lot of work on tribal outreach, but first let's talk a little bit about COVID-19 and what kind of impacts that's having on census activities. Charlotte?
COVID-19 has changed the way we are reaching our communities, our tribal communities. We are working on reaching our households now through other means, shifting our tactics that we were going to use, such as face-to-face contacts at their door in tribal communities, at their libraries, at their tribal offices. And instead now we're going to look at how we might do this better so that we can protect not only our community members, but those who are actually going out with the intention of helping them. So it's caused a real shift.
Jamie?
Yeah, none of us foresaw this coming, and we've done a lot of community engagement work, a lot of outreach work. We've established complete count committees in the tribal areas as well as in the urban spaces that was heavily reliant on making sure we do outreach and education in community. But now we can no longer do that, so we're pivoting, moving back to making sure our community has access and understanding for how to respond, what's in the questionnaire. And now more than ever, the census is actually easier to respond. Tribal lands this time around are still going to be counted similar to how they were counted before, where a census lister will go out and drop off a questionnaire, but there's now no contact. They're just dropping off a questionnaire, and it's up to the person to respond.
So what are advocates like yourself doing to try to keep the momentum of the census, whether it's information or encouraging tribal citizens, tribal leaders to fill out the census form amid of the coronavirus?
Well, the tactics are changing. We're going to rely a little more heavily on social media. Fortunately, many tribes have actually developed social media sites for their community members. Not all of them for certain, but many of them have. Many of our tribal members, our relatives, use Facebook, for example, across the country. So we're keeping in touch in that way, utilizing that form of communication. Others may not be as familiar with Twitter or with Instagram, but definitely those are being used as well. And we have a person, Kim Baca, with the Native American Voters Alliance Education Fund program that I work with, who is heading up our communications piece. And she has been instrumental in providing assistance to tribes, to community-based organizations who may want additional information or tips and techniques about reaching Native people wherever they're at.
And Jamie, what about just the good old telephone, before internet, before social media, before that, tribes already have limited access, some of them, to broadband.
Right.
So what are some of the talks regarding that?
So that's another option that folks can respond to the census through the telephone. But a lot of the neat, authentic, organic things that are growing in our communities is people are writing op-eds about the importance of the census, so there's that representation. We've identified trusted messengers, one of which is like Deb Haaland, our Congresswoman, to really implore and show the people why it's important, because representation matters. Looking at radio, so local radios, I know Zuni has a local radio station, Navajo has a radio station, so making sure that we access those forms of media, and newspapers. And then, so it's just about, one, educating why it's important, but also two, providing our community with pathways to access those things so that they can respond, and continuing to keep that, I guess, that steady message despite everything that people are being challenged with right now.
And Charlotte, expand a little bit on why it's important. What is the messaging telling folks why they should fill out the census, why they should care, and if they know about it? We hear from tribal leaders and government officials about funding, and that the census numbers impact funding from critical services that Native people need, like housing, education, healthcare. So
right.
what is some of the messaging about why it's important?
It is, the messaging is highlighting the reasons, again, as you mentioned, why it's important to vote. So much of our services, our populations, the services we receive are dependent upon the reports that are available, that become available. Those reports are used for the next 10 years. That's why it's so important. Having been a tribal administrator, I'm aware that our planning offices use this data along with the directors of those programs that you mentioned within the tribal communities, to plan for services and expansion of services with population growth. And so without that data, or with inaccurate data, if that occurs, it's a lot more difficult to actually receive the level of funding that's needed to provide those services within the communities. And that can be applied as well to the urban communities, because we have many relatives who are who are like ourselves, are living in cities, and so those services don't stop there.
Jamie, anything to add to what Charlotte's saying?
Yeah, I would just add that the accuracy of the data is so critical. The reason being is because if we do have an undercount, and it is actually estimated that in New Mexico, one person undercounted is about $3,700 per year. So you multiply that by 10, that's $37,000. And I've actually seen studies of upwards of more of $50,000 per 10 years. So it's crucial not only in our tribal communities who rely on this data, but also like cities, counties, hospitals, schools to rely on this data so that they can receive their grant money. One thing that I had looked at with what specific programs affect Native people, you're looking at SNAP, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. The federal Pell Grant is affected by census data, housing, everything you said. Everything touches our lives with census data, and I think that we're not completely aware of that at times, but it really is.
Well, let's talk a little bit about fears and some of the work to dispel fears. We know some of the challenges facing tribes here in New Mexico and across the country are the ruralness, isolation, hard to reach areas, but also just some mistrust, generations dating back of the federal government. Charlotte, do you want to address that?
Sure. I think most of the tribal communities in New Mexico, the tribal nations, look to their leadership and look to the people within their communities as those trusted messengers that Jamie was mentioning earlier. And so utilizing the people from within the community doesn't just mean leadership. It means those individuals who are working within the tribe who know their community members, such as emergency responders, CHRs, our librarians, our health workers within the communities. And the wonderful thing is that through this coalition that's established of all of the tribes in New Mexico, we're working with complete count committees that have been established at each community that are utilizing those people, including Head Start workers, because that's a very, young children are a very undercounted group of individuals. And so we're trying to pull all of them in so that we all work together on this project. So,
and Jamie, to add to what Charlotte's saying about about working together as a coalition, and part of dispelling some of those fears people might have is it's not just advocates like you, but it's a lot of other tribes, Native organizations, business partners. Talk a little bit about those partners.
Okay, so in the Albuquerque area, we've worked with organizations like the National Indian Youth Council, the City of Albuquerque Office of Equity and Inclusion, First Nations Community Health Source, the Albuquerque Public Schools Indian Education Department, NAVA EP. So it's been a really neat, I think, coalition building effort, not only within the urban space, but also within the state, at multiple levels to engage stakeholders, leadership, to make sure that, one, that they're aware. All Public Council of Governors as well, I forgot to mention them. To make sure that tribal leaders are aware, but the constituents, the tribal citizens are aware, to make sure that we catalyze this effort. And going back to your fear question, that is absolutely true. Like, we've had a very contentious relationship with the U.S. government, like, no doubt about that. But I think New Mexico is in a very unique position in which we are demonstrating how to uplift and empower those government-to-government relationships, even at the city level, because the city of Albuquerque has also recognized those.
And talking about the city, there are 19 pueblos in New Mexico, also Apache tribes, as well as the Navajo Nation. But there's also American Indians from all over the country that live in cities, towns, also people who transit. Maybe they work and live in Albuquerque, you know, during the week, or go to school and then go back to their Pueblo or Navajo or Apache communities. So there are a lot of urban Indians. Jamie, talk a little bit about the urban Indian outreach.
Sure. So just based on the work that we've done, so just some interesting facts. New Mexico ranks 7th in the nation with the highest Native population. And I'm pulling this from all census data. 68% of us now live in urban areas. The state of New Mexico actually has about 10.5% representation, and this is previous data. And Albuquerque ranks 7th in the nation with the highest percentage of Native people. We also have around over 400 tribes that are represented here, so we are definitely a hub city. As you know, people come here for trade and commerce and work and school, but also activities like Gathering of Nations, and come to SIPI and UNM. And we've actually grown as a population in general by about 39% since 2000. So we're seeing these really interesting demographic shifts in our population, and by being able to do this work in urban spaces, we are actually able to make, I would say, the invisible visible, because a lot of the times Native people aren't shown in data sets. So you'll see majority of other like demographics, you know, white, black, Hispanic, but you won't see Native people, and oftentimes we are othered, well, not even counted in that. So it's important that the urban conversation is brought to light as well.
And I think another underlooked maybe, or overlooked, I don't know the right term, but is the homeless population.
Absolutely.
We know that cities, including Albuquerque, Gallup, other border towns, Farmington, Grants, oftentimes unsheltered Native people, you know, are part of the homeless populations. Can you add or touch a little bit on that?
Yeah, that is a definitely a really disheartening statistic and challenge in this work. In the city of Albuquerque, we represent about 4.4% of the overpopulation, but within the homeless or unsheltered population, we actually represent 44%. The census data is critical to that, so that we can advocate for housing services, for SNAP, for TANF, for our folks that are unsheltered at this point. So that's another thing with the census operations coming up. They've actually delayed their operations a little bit because of COVID-19, and it's been identified in an equity report that the homeless population is actually one of the most vulnerable, not only with regard to the pandemic because of exposure, but also in being counted.
And there's a lot of work being done right now, and even before a lot of these big census dates started getting hit. And then this summer, when people are being asked to, I guess the deadline for self-reporting to complete the census, by July, the end of July when that rolls around, Charlotte, what's your hope for New Mexico tribal outreach for the census?
That we're going to have more people comfortable with filling out their census form online, that they can fill it out or call the numbers that are available when they receive their package. They'll have phone numbers that they can contact to ask questions. Within each community, they're also going to have the opportunity to ask questions directly from those within their community on specific questions that might be a little bit tough. So we're looking forward to actually having more respond than before in 2010, to have them respond in 2020 in numbers that will exceed the 2010 is our goal. And I'm confident that we're going to be able to achieve that. The people who are in our communities are very committed to doing this, given this circumstance or any other circumstances that might come along our way. And as Natives, we're pretty adaptable. And so I feel pretty confident that we are going to be able to to get this done. There will be some additional effort for sure to be taken with those who don't have access to Wi-Fi or may not have phones or are so rural that we may make special accommodations for those individuals. But we'll be working with each tribal leader and their nation.
All right, and Jamie, your final thought.
This is probably one of the biggest surveys of the decade. It takes 10 minutes, it's 10 questions. I did mine online in about 9 with my family of 5. We had a 5% undercount in 2010, and we are actually one of the most undercounted groups of all racial ethnic groups. So I would really just press upon the community to show up for each other, to show up for our children, because these counts ensure that our children have access to valuable services and programs, as well as our elders. It's really important and that we show up for one another and make sure that we make the invisible visible.
Well, thank you both for sharing this information today. Thank you for being on our program.
Thank you.
Thank you.